Welcome to the Brokers Open Podcast.
This week on Brokers Open Podcast, we've got Bobby Paolini with PR Properties. We talk tightrope walking, Black Pelican, how to get up and get going in the morning, how to jump from 8 million to 18 million in volume in a short period of time, and everything in between.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Palm Media. Palm Media is a boutique digital marketing company built for realtors by realtors. They help agents and teams dominate a target market with specific, tailored strategies. Everything from video, chatbots, landing pages, Facebook ads, database management, and coaching. And oh my gosh, it is way more affordable and simple than you could ever imagine. Call now for 100% free strategy session, whether you have a budget or not. Dr. Ben, my good friend, will make sure that you are heading in the right direction, building your presence online, or flat out crushing your competition. Before you spend a dime on marketing, door knocking, or sending out postcards, call Palm Media, 813-765-7706, 813-765-7706, or click the link in the description below. Manifest your paradise.
So Justin, it's Podcast Friday.
I'm pumped. I love Podcast Friday. It always brings me into the weekend the right way.
I love badassery, man.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. Good stuff. We've got Bobby here with us today. Okay, so we both know Bobby. We deal with him all the time. Hey, Bobby, how's it going?
Awesome. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good to be here.
He's got a lot to talk about with us today and everything. We're going to touch on everything from his book, a little bit about his past, his history, how he jumped and what he does with real estate, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so we can go ahead and dig in if you're okay digging in.
Yeah, and how awesome Berkshire Hathaway is and facilitating all that.
I love that too.
Yeah.
I love that too.
You can't just talk about the creation; you got to talk about the creator.
That's exactly right.
The brand power.
That's right. So real estate. So you got into real estate, but before that you had a lot going on. You had a lot of things that you went through in your personal life, getting to the point where you got into real estate. Had to grow up quickly on some things, right?
Yes.
And then you jumped into you had a couple of businesses, and then you got into real estate. You kind of succeeded on all of those. Talk to us a little bit about your background, being a kid, growing up, all that kind of stuff, getting to this point.
All right. How much do we only have an hour? That is going to be tough. Get excited. Get some popcorn.
And get comfortable.
Yeah, it started a long time ago, like all good stories do. And just became really tight, niched. We were always a immigrant-style, Italian, close-knit family. And as long as I can remember, really my only major goals as a child, even on career day, was just being a dad. I wanted to feel that value that I felt towards my father, thinking, there's nobody more important and more impactful to me, and I wanted somebody to kind of look up to me that way, and the family life was just great. So that's kind of where I was headed. I got married young. In fact, next Wednesday is our 15-year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Leeka's awesome.
Oh yeah, she's an angel.
Absolutely.
So, the stars started aligning, and I got bit by the entrepreneur bug, and felt like, somebody told me one day, nobody will kind of pay you what you're worth, so you got to go out there and earn it. And that little seed has been growing ever since, and that was probably 15, 20 years ago. So I've just taken that responsibility to say I don't really like the idea of a regular 9-to-5 job, and I wanted something that I could create that was creative and unique, and something that I could share, and that really didn't have a ceiling. And so the first thing was the indoor tanning industry. Actually, as white as I am, being 100% Italian, for 14 years, we served tens of thousands of people, seeing the same people 3 or 4 times a week, meeting and talking to almost 100 people a day. It's kind of, I would say, if you want to start slow in the real estate industry, open a tanning salon for like 5 years and then switch, because I think it's a great way to start. So accidentally, that's kind of how it happened. And one of my friends
how'd you
was
open
doing
it? What was the idea behind opening a tanning salon? Was there it's just like a business model, and you're like, yeah, I see that opportunity?
Not really. I just kind of knew of it my whole life. My aunt did it. It was kind of in the family. And then when I got into high school, I had horrific acne, and I was into bodybuilding too. So somebody at the gym told me, go to this thing called a tanning salon, and it helps with your color, so you see your muscle more, and it'll help with your acne. I'm like, all right. And I just got hooked because it worked. It was great.
Right.
So out through high school I did, but then tanning at one after high school, I met a guy just kind of talking, small talk, because I was the customer, he was the employee on the other side of the counter.
Right.
And we hit it off, and at some point the owner wanted to sell the salon and let the manager buy it and run it. And he asked me to kind of be an operating partner with him, which was weird. I don't even know why, but I ultimately agreed and quit my
Saw the
job
abs.
to
That's
do
why.
it. No, hopefully. It had a camera in the room, good gracious. So I was just in the lobby.
There was a camera.
Yeah. No. So, long story short, he ended up getting fired, but then the owner ended up liking me and then offered me the same position. But then in the end, the landlord denied the whole thing because he didn't want to sublease to some. At the time, I was 20 years old.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, nah, it's not going to work. So I ended up finding an investor, and 2-3 years later, in 2003, we opened up our tanning salon and ran that for till 2017.
Nice.
And one of my good friends in high school was with another brokerage, and he was just living the dream, and I clearly was not. So I asked him, how do I get started? And he gave me 2 answers, and that's all I needed. And the rest is history.
So he told me something early on whenever we were first meeting. He said that during the tanning salon days and everything, he said, "You're not going to believe this, probably, Matt, but I was a very introverted person." Tanning kind of helped him a little bit come out of that, right? And then real estate put you in a headlock and dragged you out of it.
I did. I only told you that once, I think. Good memory.
Yeah. And so we talked about you being introverted and having those conversations with people, forcing yourself to have those conversations with the people walking in the tanning salon, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it prepped you for the real estate part of it, because whenever people are coming in for tanning, you're really not trying to, for the most part, you're not upselling them on anything else, right?
It's hard to sell if it's lotion or what bed number kind of thing. So it's really relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
To keep them coming back, to keep them renewing.
Yeah.
And who would have thought? Oh, we know now that our pain points and everything we push through and resist and can take really helps us evolve and grow. Right. So it was destiny that I would, come out of my shell, getting every day 100 people for 13 years.
Right.
What a cool background, though, to be able to have that, because there's so many new real estate agents who come into our offices every day and don't have that experience to where they've come out of their shell and they understand what it takes prior to getting into the business on a social aspect. So that probably propelled you immedially into your success already.
Huge.
Yeah.
It was that, and it followed with a database. So here I am, sculpted and forged from malleable iron into steel, and then I've got 10,000 people behind me. So it really was like, how'd you do it? I'm like, kind of had a little advantage unbeknownst to myself, but it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that as an advantage, but there's a lot of people who would have left their past life behind them, and not even thought about transitioning that in. So I guess my question from there would be, how were you able to transition the clients who thought of you as a business owner of a tanning salon into helping with their biggest asset?
Well, in hindsight, it was just doing the work and kind of proving yourself. But before, when I got started, I just thought it would be automatic. I'd be like, as soon as I told them, I'm like, hey, guess what, guys? The guy you know and love, I got a real estate license, and then the phone was just never ringing. I was like calling AT&T up all the time. I'm like, this thing is not working. I've got like so many friends, and everyone's always so nice to me. And now I can sell their house. Why do they not want me to do it? And but once you kind of put your one foot in front of the other, and you kind of do what you're supposed to, and then you learn when you don't know what you don't know, right? So I didn't know anything, but I thought I did, and slowly but surely and right on time, it took about 6 months, but then the phone started ringing.
Right. And so he jumped the first year and a half probably to about 8 million in volume, right?
Yes.
And some of that was a big part of that was him just getting in there and getting connected and talking to the people and all of that, right? Yes. So how'd you make that? So first of all, how'd you make that jump? What'd you do day to day to get to that point? Can you look back at that, getting started in real estate? How'd you get from getting started to 8 million in a year and a half?
To be honest, I didn't have a plan until started with Berkshire Hathaway and ninja selling. It was really just find ways to get in front of people and answer questions. Yeah. And I mean, that's good, but there's so much more to it. It's so much deeper than that. But that was how I got started, and just it was just a blessing that God got me one step at a time to get to the point which I could really kind of just take off from there.
Right.
Damn, that's really neat. I mean, that is such a unique background story. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So I got to add something to this because this is important. If I don't bring it up, he's not gonna bring it up himself. You know. So yesterday we were talking about a couple of things that have to do with you know, he works really hard with his team to make sure that his team has the common vision that he has. And you know, we talked for a few minutes about a couple of things, hopefully moving in a good direction with some stuff. And I made a point, which is absolutely true. You know, I said, you know, I can have a conversation with him about one thing, and he gets 15 things out of it. Sometimes I have 15 conversations for somebody to get one thing out of it. Mm-hmm. He does a very good job of leveraging the situation and understanding that it's a step and a step and a step and a step, and he does a good job on focusing on those and not forgetting about those steps. So tell us about some of the steps with you know, you growing, because you did about 18 million by yourself last year, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what do you do every day? So how do you get from point A to point B? You're in the office first thing in the morning. You're leaving last thing at night. Tell us what you do throughout the day.
Yeah, no problem. In fact, that question, if we could ask everybody, every agent that, and they could answer you honestly, that's the key to everything. Is
Agreed.
What do you do every day?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you say? What do you think once in a while? Or what do you believe? What do you do every day? And so I'm glad you asked that question. So it started with, I woke up today at 4:30. Mm-hmm. I had to do I got 15 minutes of like prayer time and just gratitude of kind of where I sit and how far I've come and where I'm going.
Right.
And then it's affirmations, right? I've got self-recorded affirmations, just things I believe, you know, like do good unto others and seek to understand rather than be understood, little things like that, just core values.
Is that an app, or is that you just voice recorded over them, or what?
It's an
you
app.
do?
Yes,
it's an app. What's the app? Do you know?
I forgot.
Okay.
I'm so used to it so long now. I forgot. I used to remember it. It was $18, but trust me,
We stole his phone away from him, so he can't look.
That's right, he can't look at it. He's still got his watch that he's looking at.
Yeah. So then you read the no, my watch is a phone, so it's good stuff. But you know the Miracle Morning. That's that's how I start my morning with the savers: silence, affirmations, visualizations. So the silence really to me is prayer. Affirmations is just reminding your subconscious about your core values. Visualization is really focusing on where you want to go, what you want to do, the lifestyle you want to live. And that is in the form of pictures, and then I've kind of memorized my vision board.
Nice.
And then the E is exercise. So every morning I run 2 miles. So I did 2 miles today, and then I'll do a particular body part. Friday is back. So I have a certain routine for that. And then I read, right? So I read, 30 minutes of, lately I've been doing some editing on my book, so for sometimes it takes an hour in the morning, but I have plenty of time.
Right.
So I'll read that, and then scribing, I journal.
Nice.
I am doing a special journal right now, and just in case my wife is watching, I'm not going to disclose what it is, but it's basically just kind of journaling your day, which is kind of bookmarking your path.
Right.
It's really kind of identifying the promises to yourself and keeps you on course. So journaling is huge, which I didn't really start until like 6-7 months ago, but now I'm hooked.
Right.
So then that's kind of, that routine never changes. I mean, it could be Armageddon, satellite could fall from the earth, and I'm still going to at least get that done and then worry about dinner later. And then, of course, I get to I usually leave my house at 8, so I'm at the office at 8:15.
Right.
And then I start, of course, the ninja selling, like the Ninja 9. I always write gratitude cards.
Yep.
Blue pen, and I have a stack in order of my core, raving fan clients, just to say hello. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm not saying, call me if you need one of your friends or neighbors is looking to buy or sell. It has nothing to do with that. It's really just thinking of them, thanking them for the value they add to my life, and makes me feel good selfishly. Right. And then I write 35 written affirmations. It's the same one every day. I kind of fill that ninja selling book. Right. Again, just to remind myself of my expectations of what is coming. And it just seems kind of foo-foo and kind of fluffy and like it wouldn't work to somebody who doesn't do it, but it absolutely does.
Absolutely.
It absolutely does. And I can't stress it enough. And you're all watching going, nah, it's stupid. But honestly, especially if you persist at it, I've been doing it for almost 2 years, and it certainly works. And from there, I just kind of get to work. I strategize the day. I have a to-do list, and then I have a technique that I use to prioritize it. Nice. So I start with the most important first, time block, and here we are.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's so cool. I mean, so when it comes to schedule, and that seems to be a common trend on
Everyone.
that,
No matter what they're succeeding at.
Right.
Everyone has a schedule, and they stick to certain things, and the consistency of gratitude and the consistency of contacting the people that they know is in every one of those schedules. It doesn't matter who it is we've talked to.
Right. So it's easy for the way that I'm looking at your story and your successes. It would be easy for somebody outside to say, oh, well, he had all the intangibles and things were set up for him because of his prior business, and things are just working out for him that way. And really on the inside, people don't realize how hard he is working every single minute of every day to get it there. And people want to ignore that because it's like, they want to push that part of it out because they want to rationalize stuff in their own head.
Well, because then they have to do it.
Right.
If they're convinced that that's the work is what it is, then they have to do it. If they're channeling themselves, it's me, then they give themselves excuses.
Yeah.
Which is another sad tragedy.
Right. Yeah,
No, it is.
After being critical about something, the next thing to do is be accountable. So it's easier to stay in the critical stage because then you don't have to be accountable.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So he's deliberate, right? So
Yep.
I know he's deliberate. I see him walk up and he's dumping off his cards every morning, and Ninja says 2 of them, right? Bobby's dropping off. 10, 12, 19, 74 sometimes.
3. You always want to make yourself a little bit better every day. I have that 1% a day rule, which over a span of a year,
Atomic Habits.
3,770% more impactful. Yes, good call.
Yeah.
So it's all about consistency, but then not being content with your progress. Like you work out, right? I mean, I remember when I used to be hardcore into the weight. One week you would do bench at, let's say, 200 pounds, but you purposely add 2.5s on each side the next week because you have to do more to do the same thing. It doesn't make sense. So life is that same way.
Yep.
And I didn't even realize it until now.
Yeah.
I just thought it was in the gym.
Without that intentional mindset, and obviously Matt and I run on that same frequency. Right. I mean, that pings so well with us.
Yeah.
But in order to be able to get there mentally and to be able to succeed on the level that people succeed at, such as yourself, I mean, that is a commitment that 99.9% of people
don't want to do it.
Either don't want to do it or do not have the fortitude to do it.
Right.
And it becomes that slippery slope of, you could digress 1%, one day. And people don't realize that they're slipping back 1% at a time because it's small. It's like, oh, well,
that's right.
I decide that I'm going to go this path, and
they're comfortable.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's okay for a little bit here, and then all of a sudden, that starts to add up, and then before people know it, they're looking back 10 years ago, going, "What in the hell just happened to my life?"
Right.
Oh yeah, success and failure habits are not instant either. So if you wake up one day and some catastrophic thing just ruins your whole life, it's been a slow progression of not doing the right things or doing bad habits every day, and success goes the other way.
Yeah.
So it's also that push-pull thing, right? So we talked about this a little bit with Lorna. In the beginning, you have to push yourself to do these things, right? So doing your morning rituals now, there's some mornings that they might be difficult, but it's not every morning.
Right.
Most mornings, if you don't get up and get going, you feel bad because you didn't do it. So you've worked really hard to push yourself to do it for a certain amount of time, and then once you fall into that rhythm, all of a sudden that starts pulling you. Instead of it pushing you to get it done, it's pulling you every morning to get it right. Am I
just to encourage anyone thinking about trying, it's harder to not do it now than it is to do it. To be honest with you, you might not feel as pumped to do it in any given day if you're just whatever, and maybe you're not feeling well physically, but it's definitely more painful to not. I haven't missed a day in 2 years. I mean, even if I wake up late, I start the day late, but I don't skip the morning.
If I miss anything on my ritual, I'm a bear, man.
Yeah. I
gotta have those certain pieces and certain parts. Otherwise, I feel like it's incomplete that I didn't get done what I needed to get done.
Right.
And sometimes, this morning I'm doing my reading. This morning on the way here, I've got my earbuds in. Sometimes you have to make a little adjustments on that. But if I wouldn't have done that, I'd be a different person right now. And I know the same thing with you, and I know the same thing with you and so many of the people we talk about, that you just have to be dedicated to a ritual that's focused on you being better.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I literally shower at the same time every day, brush my teeth at the same time every day, and physical routines, physical actions that are are consistent are telling your body truths subconsciously, and then your body reacts to them and creates a reality from them, and it starts to become better because of them. Right. Yeah, it's an absolute trigger.
Your autonomic system. That's right. You're training.
There's so much to it. Like it's crazy, but it works.
I'm just as interested, obviously, in your business success, given your habits and your daily routine. But how have those daily routines and the schedule that you've set up impacted your personal life and your family life?
I think it has made me the person that people just want to be around and want to do business with. If you could simplify it as much as possible. The running doesn't make me learn the FAR bar contract any better or handle certain technical things, but what it does do is it raises my capacity to handle more, which is every human being's greatest struggle and greatest desire. So when a client, is struggling through or nervous about a processing before it gets started, I'm naturally the person that just makes the whole process better because all of everything is in order, right? My mindset, my body, I physically feel good. Right. I'm never sick. I don't even have to knock on wood. I literally don't get colds. I don't, call in sick or stuff like that. And a lot of it is willpower. That call.
I tell you to get in, that, right?
Yeah, I would tell myself. I've already told myself. That's how I can run through, certain things. If it's storming or I got an injury or something in my morning runs. Yeah. And it's just kind of, pushing yourself through that makes that so much easier, so much better, and so effective.
Nice.
Yeah, totally agree.
So one of the other things that so you get back on a lot of different levels, right? I kind of want to focus on one of those that I know that you do a lot on, and this will kind of segue into your book, which we can talk a little bit about because I think that's cool. What your big picture plan is for that. Mm-hmm. So you're also very connected with MPI. You do a lot with networking groups, and you take on a very active role of making sure that the people that are in that group get as much value out of that. And you've had some great marketing ideas that have come out of that. I don't know if you want to share any of those. But you've also had great training opportunities that you've helped. And there's people in the group that have received help. And so, the times I've talked to John about this, he talks about how inspirational you are to be part of that group. You've done a lot of business with MPI. Talk a little bit about networking groups and how that runs for you, what business you get off of it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, I would encourage, and there's really no shortage of realtors in networking groups, for sure. I'm kind of teaching an Olympian how to walk here, but networking groups...
Well, we're talking about effectiveness.
Yes, and if you're like me and you're not a salesperson and you don't feel the need to call up expires and for sale by owners and door knock, then you certainly should be in front of people trying to help them, and that's my style. And networking groups on so many levels do that. And of course the goal is to help them first. Their goal is to give first and then to receive, but now you can do it on a huge stage. And they're all different types of industries and professionals. And in real estate, we could use any one of them at any given moment. Yeah. And we not only can help them by helping our clients, but it helps us in general and creates perpetual automatic referrals that just never end. They're learning your real why, and there's no amount of advertising or even social media referrals, because if they don't really know you, they're still taking a chance. They just, maybe you're their best option. But a networking referral is gold.
It's as sticky as it gets.
Yes. And they're better people. You're not, you're helping those that want to be helped. Right. And that truly need it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It is. And it's extending your reputation. So you got to know those people. People are a lot more comfortable referring somebody and extending their reputation whenever they actually know the content of the people that they're talking about. But you do a lot of the training with your groups. What are some of the things that you talk about with your group? What are some of the things that you run through from a networking standpoint?
We do actually do business practices, so it's general stuff. It's how to talk to people, and I usually add the psychology and things. But with different professionals, we learn more specific things of how we can help them get clients, which is huge. I mean, we're all kind of professionals, and we all are learning. We can learn principles to business together, but for the most part, it's separate to the industry. Right. So it's kind of learning how I can help you, and because they know their business better than I do, so they can give me hints and tips. It makes us more effective, and it's easier for us. So why not? And just by listening, you learn that. And listening helps with everything. You know, I'm not thinking, I'm like, what am I going to say when it's my turn? Or, you know, because you're authentically listening, and then you speak authentically and with truth, and then, you know, the right stuff comes out. And we all share that same philosophy, and we're growing each week that we meet.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I mean, that's what's awesome about your business, and I want to get your take on this because it kind of parlays directly into what you're talking about is, you know, it would have been easy when you got into your real estate career to fall for some of the lead traps.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And in a day and age of when, you know, millions of people are falling, you know, realtors are falling for these lead traps and signing up for these things and paying thousands of dollars each month for BS leads.
Right.
And that is the trend.
Right.
And you're focusing solely on
Relationship.
old school,
Yeah.
you know, groundwork, relationships, and writing note cards and doing those things. How was that an easy decision for you? Or did it work with your personality, or was it like, you know, this seems right, I'm just going to trust it and jump in?
Good question. It was an easy decision once I realized, but until, like the other brokerage I was with, they said the same stuff. Like they all use the same materials, like the 8x8 and the touches and this and that.
Right.
And the 10 cards, their number was 10.
Right.
But until you understand why, you're going to lead with what they lead with inbound stuff, which is they teach you those little philosophies, but it's still smile and dial, you know, FSBOs, expireds, door knock, you know, try to sell your grandmother's house twice. And
Right.
and I didn't like that. So once I got a taste of sales through service, then, oh yeah, it was a piece of cake from there.
Right.
And the more you read, the more you learn, the more you are convinced that there's no better way to do it. So that certainty is what the fuel is that keeps me going and got me started.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's easier said than done, though, Matt.
Is.
I mean, that's like I have a really hard time getting into agents' minds about really diving into what your real why is, because when somebody asks, like at a ninja seminar, what's your big why, and you get 3 minutes to think about it, and you're sitting here and your brain's reeling, and you're coming up with some BS in your head, and you're like, okay, what does other people want to hear? What would this person think?
Right.
If you were teaching a class on how do you authentically find your why, what would you teach?
I would do the 2x4 story and ask them who would be on
Yeah,
the
you got a
proverbial
great story. So
burning building.
Let's hear it.
Let's
Let's
hear
hear it. Come on now.
Set 'em up for that.
Bear chop.
Mic check. Posture check. We're good. Okay, no,
Check.
and I have said this because I do train, you know, other professionals and agents, and I said, here's what my mental thought on this whole process is every day, and it's kind of a story, and you know, it's about a 2x4. So here's how it goes. Let's say I have a 20-foot 2x4, and we had 20 feet, and I had it laying on the ground, and I offered you $100 to try and walk across it from end to end. What would you say?
Depends where this 2x4 is being suspended from.
That's just on the ground.
No, see, it was just on the ground right here. Yeah. Look at you trying to.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, if it's just on the ground, just right here, and I offered you $100 to walk across it, would you?
Yeah.
Of course. There's no reason why. I'm like, it's a free $100.
Yeah.
Okay, so now to aid to your curiosity, let's say I walk that 2x4 up 100 flights of stairs, up a tall building, and it's mirrored by another 100-foot tall building right next to it, about 15 feet apart. And I get to the roof, and I kind of pike that thing over the edge, and I link the two together. And now we're both up there on the roof, super windy day, like it's insane, and 100 feet on top of a building is much higher than you would imagine. And I offer you the same $100 to walk across that 2x4. Would you do it?
No.
No, definitely not.
Not
All right,
even
so
close.
No.
no, definitely wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't either. So let's say, you know, you got to think. I want you to think now of the most important people or person in your life, the person that is so important that it's even more important than you. If you had to choose, or God had to choose, who had to go to heaven first, who would it be? Now imagine you're on one roof and that person is on the other roof, and their building is completely engulfed in flames and on fire, right? Would you even need the $100 to go across the 2x4 at that point?
No, I'd already be
No
across
question.
it.
Right.
Well, see, I mean, think about that scenario real quick. until I said the last part, you were adamant, and all of us agreed that
Ain't no way
I'm not going across that 2x4. And the question is why? Why wouldn't you go across the 2x4? Because your why was not great enough at that point. Your why is now sitting on top of that burning building. So, but you didn't get training on how to balance. You didn't kind of go to a course on how to tightrope walk or how to handle resistance or wind or distractions. You didn't do any training. You didn't read books on balancing. The only thing that changed in that instance was your reason to do it.
Right.
So for me, it's my wife and children, and every day I put them on that roof. Every day. So it's not like a skit. It's something that you're willing to do anything.
Right.
Good, legal, moral, and ethical for them.
Right.
Including run across a 2x4 to just run them back over. And that's a huge aha for me. You mean nobody can take that story for granted. I mean, truly, a true why, if you're being honest with yourself, can empower you to do and be willing to handle and take on anything. So, disgruntled customers or people cussing at you, like at the neighbors, or just anything you got to deal with. It doesn't bother you. You're always going to aim to, add value and help them with their goal and help them solve problems. And it's never about you, because nothing is more important than the people on that roof.
Yep. And there the whole class understands their why now.
Know your why. And it's unanimous.
Example.
Nobody wouldn't. So find that person and keep them in the forefront of your head, which is all part of the gratitude journaling, actually.
Yep.
You're never forgetting about that why.
Right.
Never. And me I always wanted to be a dad, it kind of fits like a little puzzle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's easy. Yeah.
And so the addition to this, because I've had the opportunity of us talking about it, it's a great example. Even if you put money on the other side of the building, you put $1 million sitting over there.
Yeah.
You put $2 million. At some point, maybe you'll make that trek, right?
Yeah.
At some point, maybe you'll do that. But we don't get up and do things for the money every day.
Right.
We get up and do it because there's something else that drives us, that we want to be able to have a certain life, and real estate just happens to be a great way to offer that life to other people.
Yeah, you can't take money with you when you die, so money is never the goal. Right. And I always tell people God and gold are two different avenues. However, if you go for the good of things, then the gold will be there, but money in of itself is terrible. It's what you would want on your deathbed, right? I always say what's really important in life is something that'll be important to you on your last day alive.
Your last moment.
And it's certainly not, I wish I would have just made more money and worked harder and saved more money.
Spent more hours at the office.
Yeah, exactly. That's your, if you're being honest, that's your why.
What kind of occurred to me when we were just going through that scenario, because I was visualizing the whole thing, is people can get wrapped up in two different scenarios when they start talking about their why or why they do things. And if you set a monetary goal as your why,
right,
it becomes a risk-reward scenario, as opposed to something that's completely innate and something that is almost, you don't even have to think about it. It just clicks for you, right? I mean, you can go back to, the old days when we were, running around in the woods or in the forest, whatever, and trying to make fires and do that. But that goes back to that same sort of human capacity and that wiring, where it's not even a thought; it's done, right? So I just find that interesting that when people have those monetary goals as opposed to having real goals.
Well, you can use those, actually. I call those lead goals.
Lead measures.
Those lead goals and lag goals.
Right.
The lag goal is kind of the ultimate goal, but the lead goal keeps you on track. So I do have monetary goals, but it's not my why.
What drives you?
It's what keeps me running, pretty much. It maintains that I am not going to stop, at least the first part, making my bed every day. I miss that part. I also do that. That you don't stop until you reach those goals. But then once you reach them, you reset them. And you raise the bar, like the 2.5 pound addition to our workouts. So absolutely. Lead and lag, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And money just allows us to do what we want to do. Right? Ultimately, it's just a tool. Capital is just labor and commerce and need and capitalism all thrown together. They kick out this byproduct called money, and then you can do what you want with that, instead of it being the goal of what you want to accomplish in the day. Because whenever it boils down to it, you don't want to walk across that You don't want to make those phone calls. You don't want to make those connections. You don't want to go do the things first thing in the morning, gratitude-wise, if you don't have a great reason to do it. So
Start
that's good stuff.
And gathering and
That's right.
becoming your own doctor, your own everything. I mean, I guess if you were everything to yourself, you wouldn't have to work. But money is because we focus our energies on one thing and we work in harmony.
Right.
So we need exchange.
Yeah. So good stuff. All right. So so we talked a little bit about NPI there for just a second, and somewhere along the line you decided you wanted to write a book, right? So you saw the leap that you made with your business, and you learned some things, and you're like, hey, I want to help other people with this. Tell us a little bit about the book that's coming up.
Yes, it's called Good Talk, Great Sales. Talk is an acronym that it just came to me one day. I thank God, and it stands for truth, attention, listening, and kindness.
It came to you in one of those blackouts, right? I got a whiteboard in the back of the office, and
I get
up there and
ideas
just start scribbling stuff
out of nowhere all the time, and I can only guess it comes from one place because there's really no other way to look at it. And so it just started to make sense for me, and those are 4 corners that solidify great communication. 100% honesty. Give somebody your attention. Pay attention. If I was looking that way, it would change the entire makeup of what we're doing. Listening. Take information. If someone's talking and you're not listening, you're not communicating, there's just noise and there's another person there.
Right.
Communication begins when something is received, processed, and rethought of with other facts and figures, which also gives you leverage. It's great for negotiations, but it's great just being a friend.
Right.
Or like what I do with the Joy FM, just hearing people out, or with the tanning salon. I wasn't trying to sell them on anything, but they were telling me about their life stories and their problems, and I wanted to listen.
Right.
And so you authentically learn that. And then kindness is the attitude we should always have to maintain. And that if we're upset or angry or frustrated or sad or worried, it's we can't do those things. We can't input and output the way we should. So controlling your emotions, controlling your thoughts, which is also forged from the morning routine, which is also part of the value we offer to clients. But in that process, and journaling, like I said about my the savers from the Miracle Morning, is the fact that I was already making notes on everything that was happening. And being the fact that I want to share it and I want to give, I just started kind of recording it all.
Nice.
And literally created the book in full audio, just on a whim. I created the chapters because I framed out the timeline in which the order in which the information should be understood. And then I just talked it out, the whole thing from nothing. Just the words kept going. I didn't even make, notes or anything. It was amazing.
One of the first things he, whenever he first said that he was writing the book, he came in and we were talking about sales, and and I'll put the word frustration in his mouth. I don't know if that's the exact word he used, but he said, I'm dealing with some situations with some people, and I'm a little bit frustrated that the salespeople focus so much on them selling instead of them understanding how to listen to what the customer needs in order to apply the tools that they have to help them out.
Yeah. What a powerful little life lesson there.
Yeah. And I was like, well, Robert, that's
it's
fantastic,
and I hear
brother.
it with script classes of all kinds and all brokerages. They're all the same, and when they try to give organic responses, it's usually one word. Like they'll say something, and my family's doing this, and they're awesome, and then they go to a next question, and then I feel like they're practicing bad habits.
Right, they are.
If you don't know the fundamentals of why you're even asking those questions and really how to come up with great questions, you're using somebody else's act, so to speak. You're using somebody else's trait, and if it's not yours, it's not going to do the same thing it did for them, and then that's how people get discouraged, and we could go all day with that. But yeah, absolutely. You have to be authentic and just grow from within with the materials you have around you, and not reaching for scripts and being authentic. And when you listen, even if you're not super skilled on it, you'd be surprised how much better you communicate.
Right.
Oh my gosh, times 10, and how much more you learn, period.
Yes.
You're truly effective at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what they're asking, and you answer what they're asking. Right.
And if you speak the same language and you listen really well, you'll come up with a solution.
Right.
Or at least a really good response that, shows the authenticness that you care.
Right, and heading towards the solution.
There's a mental, flip of a switch, though, because there's a lot of people out there who work to live and who always dangle something in front of themselves. I know so many people where they dangle the weekend in front of themselves, or they dangle a vacation a couple months away. If I can just get by these couple days, if I can just work through this, or if I can just, make my boss think I'm working, I can get to that end goal. But all that does is it makes your life a blur, and you're living for nothing.
Throws away their life.
Yeah, completely.
Not
And it
good
all
for
just
real
becomes
estate.
this. No, it's not good for anything either. I mean, the personal relationship, people wonder why they're in a downward spiral. I'm always down on myself. Always bad things happen to me. Not you.
Right.
Not you, but me.
Right.
But it's so hard for people to understand that it's a decision that you make right here personally and right here.
Yeah, and it's your RAS, right? So your reticular activating is looking for those things because that's what you keep saying. You're programming your brain to start looking for crappy things to happen, so it validates what you were thinking. And the same thing with
So
vacation.
toxic.
It is. And same thing with the vacation and all of that. You're just skipping your life, right? Do you skip any days of your life?
No, and work-life balance is one of my favorite things that I learned in the last couple years. And
I'm huge on that.
Yeah.
And in real estate, since we're results-based, like I guess if you get paid by the hour and you absolutely despise your job, but you really love your family, that would be a good strategy, right? Head down to the grind, do your thing, and you don't have to take your work home with you, and you could care less about anyone you're helping at work. Then I guess that motivation of going from vacation to vacation or weekend to weekend would work. But in real estate, we have to be clear in mind, body, and soul, and always be available and always be there to help somebody else with their need and their goals. So for us to do that would be a tragedy.
Yeah.
So the key is zoning in and focusing 100% of where you are. So when I'm here talking with you, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm thinking, wish I could cuddle my baby, or, oh my gosh, I should answer this call.
Right.
Because that no matter if that's true or not, that's not going to bring me joy in the now.
Right.
And it's not going to help what I'm missing out on or where I'm at.
Yeah.
So the key to simplify life in general and just give you peace is to focus 100% on what's in front of you. And let your prioritizing and your routines and your good habits help you kind of pretty much do it all. So when I get home, because I prioritized and did all the hard stuff first and either omitted or delegated or just kind of carried over some leftover stuff, I can go home and just totally sell out.
Yeah, that's right. Let go.
Exactly, let go. And as soon as I see my wife, my kids, I just want to have fun and enjoy everything. We make the most of those few hours.
Yeah.
And it's great. And when the kids come in the office, you would never know that I don't see them for the majority of the day, because the time I do, I'm dad.
You're
I'm
all
not on my phone. I'm not watching the game. I'm drinking a beer. Nothing wrong with beer, but that's a good work-life balance. So I could be a great dad and husband and a great realtor to my clients.
Because he cleans his slate. His work slate he cleans.
And discipline equals freedom. That's like my favorite little quote by Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
And people think that, people with schedules and they think they're rigid. And because their life is confined by schedule, they don't really live. They don't get out there and feel it. When that's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
When you have your life in order and everything's structured the way you want to, the freedom opens up more than you've ever seen in your life. And I've gone through it because, trust me, it's not like something that you're born with.
Right.
And you went through it a couple years ago, so did I. Matt's gone through it. But until you go through that epiphany and a change, a real change in your life, you don't know it.
And I tell those people, look, what you don't realize is if you don't have habits, you have impulses. So no matter how you look at it, you are a slave to something. So either you're a slave to your own self-derived habits to be in control of and benefit yourself, or you're a slave to your impulses and a slave to those results and a slave to that environment that you're stuck in. And so I say to them, kudos to you. If you want that freedom to stay where you are and enjoy it, but if you want control of your life, be a slave to those habits that you can do something about. And usually that's kind of the aha. But be a slave to your habits.
Yeah. So kind of to what both of you were speaking of, you make a choice of whether you are mentally free or whether you are physically free. Because if you do the things that make you mentally free, you get the stuff done, you make sure you check the things off that need to happen in order for you to mentally feel free, then your body physically feels free. If you do it the other way around, and this is why people that, like John McCain, right? So John McCain, the situation he was in, right?
Yeah.
But mentally he still stayed, and there's tons of stories of people that Nelson Mandela, stories of people that just stayed mentally where they needed to be when physically they were somewhere else. And people wonder how they do that. It's because they made a conscious decision mentally to look for freedom. And the only way that you can have that is if you clear the things out systematically that keep coming into your programming.
Right.
And so that's what they did, and that's what you do on a regular basis. I know that's what you do. So we want to make sure that the people out there, if they're looking to grow their business, if they want to get better at what they're doing from an entrepreneur standpoint, you have those habits that give you that mental freedom instead of being tied to the physical impulses of what you want to do. Oh, you know what? I need to hurry up and get this done because I just got that phone call, so I need to hurry up and do this. I need to hurry up and do that because instead of thinking, okay, I know that I can have that happen in the order that it needs to because I've got other things that are more priority because I'm mentally clearing things and I'm having that mental freedom first.
Well, people mistake freedom in general. I mean, they think freedom is lack of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is required of me, so I'm free.
Right.
No, you're not free. A grain of wheat all by itself, if blowing in the wind, is free too, but it's just a little grain.
Right.
But if it
And it
takes
still
a
has a
beating
program,
and you
by the way.
pound it and you cut it and you chop it and you pull the grain and you put it through misery, you've multiplied its attributes 100-fold. Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, talks about that. Multiply yourself 100-fold.
Right.
When that grain goes through that, it comes out in a way that can produce loaves of bread that would feed hundreds of people.
Right.
But the grain left alone does nothing.
Right.
So, you think you're free because you really got nothing to do, but freedom is having more impact and choices. It works with everything. Steel, like if you hit iron and you burn it, you heat it, and you cool it, and you smash it, it becomes harder and stronger, and its attributes are multiplied 100-fold and then distributed. It's biblical. We should always do that. You refine the attributes you are given. You take those ingredients and you get the recipe. You take the pile of stones that you are and you build the temple. But so the people with freedom that say, I just want to sit around the Jimmy Buffett style, that's great, but he worked really hard. He forgot to tell you guys that.
That's right.
Oh my
Jimmy
God.
Buffett's like, yeah, right. You should read the story about Jimmy Buffett.
I have.
How
Yeah.
about the Beatles? The Beatles did the same exact thing. Rolling Stones did the same exact thing. Years and years and years worth of nothing. 12-hour shifts playing, and the Beatles played in strip joints in Germany. Is where they played for a very long time before anybody paid any attention to them at all.
How do you know that?
So funny.
I'm not that old. I'm not saying I wouldn't have been there. I'm just saying I'm not that old.
That's so funny. Wow, that's so true, though. It's, if they only
Paying it
knew.
forward.
Yeah, but freedom is hard. To consciously make that decision. We keep going back to this, but I really want to press that is, especially today's day and age with young generations getting into the workforce, you see a lot of that lackluster type of attitude, and things are either owed to me or things are just going to work out the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
But when in all reality, we're talking about what really truly works on a daily basis for us personally and business-wise, it is hard.
It is.
It is not
hard.
easy.
Yeah.
But the grand majority of people don't do it because it is freaking hard.
Right.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely, and so some people think that whenever I pay something exponentially, I should get something back, and that's not the way that it works.
Right.
You work on something, you do something, you might not get a result for that for X amount of time, but if you let that exponentially grow, the result you finally get is huge later.
Yeah.
But so many people want that right
Instant
now. I do that.
gratification.
That's exactly right. This and that, and so I want that back.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
It's a bad one, too. People think an instant gratification is good, or the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? Everyone thinks, they've always believed it was the hare, but the moral of that story is the tortoise mentality, and that's what wins. It's consistency and persistence, and absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
If you told two people to read the same exact book, and you told one person, here's what I want you to do. I want you to read this as fast as possible so that you can move on to other things. or you told the other person, I want you to get as much as you possibly can out of this book and then let them go, odds are that the time won't be too much different.
That's right.
However, the nuggets and the enrichment and the daily growth and the personal growth that comes out of that is completely different. And so you got to look at life through a different lens.
You do.
And,
and the little bit of time spent is exponential.
Mm-hmm.
What they get out of it is exponential. Those extra couple of seconds, because it's being deliberate about what you're actually doing.
Yeah,
that's huge. Yeah. So you read a lot of books, right? We talk all the time, right? So tell me your favorite book. I think I know the answer to this, but tell me your favorite book.
Oh, the Go-Giver.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I haven't read that in a while.
It's still my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tearjerker. It's such a great story about humanity and people and survival and business and just doing good and I think it's a true story. Isn't there some truth to it, or did you make the whole thing up?
Business fable, yeah.
Maybe it's like based off of something, but oh my goodness.
Yeah, such a great book.
And an easy read, because when I first started reading, I was reading on like a 5th grade level, so it happened to be my first book. It was big letters and pictures and a small book. I was like, yes! Small chapters, because I had like an 8-minute attention span. I was telling my son this morning, actually, he doesn't like to read, and of course it's much easier to start a YouTube video, and I just reminded him that it's not as easy to read the book, but you're not going to feel that same bubbly stuff. But it's like candy versus health food. If you eat that Skittles now, that's going to give you like, oh, this is great, this must be good. But then 5 minutes later, you got a tummy ache, but you eat your Brussels sprouts, you may not be enjoying it, but 5 minutes later, you're better off than you were 5 minutes ago. And
even with Brussels sprouts,
I love Brussels sprouts.
He loves Brussels sprouts. He's a vegan, so Brussels sprouts to him are like cherries.
My wife makes some great Brussels sprouts.
Really?
Oh God.
So and he understood that, and it was good for him to see and hear that, that feeling he felt is normal. Right. That the reading is going to be hard. All this stuff that we do is hard, but it's also easy to do. But it's hard to choose to do it consistently. And for me, reading was the same way. But honestly, like anything I've been doing with a routine, I've gotten better. I could read the flip chart of the MPI thing from like 10 feet away, lightning speed, and studying things and. Yeah, you even reading.
How you
is
practice,
fundamental.
how you perform, man. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
So yeah, every day I read.
Yeah, good deal. So you turned me on to a book we read by Chris Voss, right?
Never Split the Difference. You read it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is such a fantastic book.
Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference. He was an FBI hostage negotiator, and we jokingly talk about Black Swan all the time, trying to figure out what's going on in the conversation with people. It's something that both of us did, but this guy just describes it extremely well. Just gets to the bottom of it. So if you get a chance to read that, it's a holler out there, Chris Voss. That's good stuff. It's a great book.
And for you agents, you tell your customers you were trained to negotiate by an FBI, hostage investigator, negotiator type thing. Yeah, and it does help. I mean, and sometimes negotiating isn't about brutality and pushing your will on somebody. It's letting them know you understand what they're trying to say. And as a human beings, they tend to drop their guard, and it goes back to the K in talk. Using kindness, they become more of your advocate. People don't want to fight so hard if they like you. And there's so many little fundamentals in the book. So it's not just teaching you to, just choke people out to get your way.
Right.
It's teaching you philosophies and ideas that are just, flawless.
And the proving ground for it was, then he goes through some stories. The proving ground and how he arrived at this is just, it's an incredible book.
It's real.
You get a chance to read it. All right, good deal. So what else? What else we got here today for Friday, Podcast Friday?
You guys are in the driver's seat. I don't know. Ask away.
I got some notes.
I think we should talk about Berkshire Hathaway. Hopefully there's realtors and other brokerages thinking about, what's the difference. And, I think they owe it to themselves to come find out. Because, Berkshire Hathaway for me was just the environment that I needed to absolutely flourish and grow and feel limitless. And there's probably a lot of agents out there that have that feeling. And did I talk to you about the whole fish tank thing? I read a book called How Big Is Your Tank years ago, and then I kind of lived the experiment out myself. I bought my son a couple turtles a few years ago, and it came with like this 10-gallon or 5-gallon tank, this regular little fish tank. It was about that big. And we had them for a couple years at that point. And they never really grew, and we kind of felt guilty because they didn't really go far either. So one day just decided to get a huge tank. So we got this thing, it's like this big and like this high. And literally, that was about 6-7 months ago. Those things have doubled in size. Both of them have doubled in size. And we feed them the same, everything's the same.
Yeah.
So it's just like what they taught in the book. There's a philosophy in nature, and that we are part of that we can only grow to the expansion of the environment around us, and that includes our mindset.
Yep.
So, reading starts the internal growth, but then you need to be in some good soil and plant some roots in a wide open space where you can really grow. And Berkshire Hathaway does that with a great culture, great people, leadership, accountability, independence, and of course ninja selling, and our whole concept of just being, not like who to seem or how to appear or fake it, and regular little advertising or marketing gimmicks. It's the best, like the go-giver. The greatest thing we have to offer anybody is ourselves.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So make yourself more valuable and give with what you have and where you are. And with Berkshire Hathaway, that's absolutely what it is, and we saw that on a national level when we went to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
I just thought it was your office, but apparently it's the
Right.
whole company. So come on in.
Yeah.
I had the same epiphany when I came over. I actually use my story with recruits that I'm interviewing when they come in is, you don't understand that all brokerages aren't created equal, and you can't create culture out of nothing. And it was definitely a huge aha for me, because I'm coming in like thinking I know everything, or I had my business and now I'm missing my small company or whatever. And when in reality I was like, man, I really should have seen this before.
Yeah.
And until you see it or until you really feel it, you just don't know.
Yeah, that goes back to an earlier part of the conversation. The earlier part of the conversation when we talked about just the quantity side of dealing with people versus the service quality side of things. We don't want to be everything to all people, right? There's tons of real estate models out there. We're in a great market, right? So there's like 2 new emerging ones every day or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's either about price or it's about service. Okay, not that you can't compete on both of those in whatever model, but it's about price and service. And we're always going to take the service side of things, and that fits some people really well. They honestly don't look at the dollar. They look at what's going forward. They know that 20 years worth of business is in front of them because of how they did things today.
Right.
And not that some other people can't get that, but the bottom line, you make a decision what you're around and the environment and the people that you talk to. You want to be either around a service-based group of people, or you want to be around the quantity group of people, the price group of people.
Yeah.
And I like I've always been the full service one. Not that it doesn't happen as much now, but in Georgia I got called all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you come over? We got this new brand, this emerging thing, and you're a bunch of agents and all that. And the way I look at it is I like having a relationship with Robert. I like talking to him. He doesn't need my help 90% of the time, right? The 10% of the time when he needs my help, he needs it.
10% of the time, maybe.
That's right. And so I want to be there for that.
Yeah.
I want to be connected for that, and I can't do that with a large quantity of people. I have to do it with the quality of people. And so that just fits for me. It just fits for him. Just fits for you. And
That's a lot of what I wasn't getting at my other brokerage, and I think price and service together are value. And I encourage anyone who's looking to switch brokerages to focus on that. Not focus on your splits, like, do I get to keep 70 or 80%, and what are you going to give me if you take that 20? Well, that's terrible. It's not even about you. What do you mean give you for what? If it's about the client, what really should matter is what the 20% plus the 80% offer the customer,
Right.
and offer you as an individual to grow and a platform to grow, and then from there, I probably paid triple to this brokerage as I did the other one, but I've also made quadruple. So what do you want?
Right.
What do you want? And so I only want $250 a transaction and free errors and omissions, and good luck with that.
Right.
It's not what matters.
the best way that I explain it is if my fingers don't stretch any farther. If you're that fabulous of an agent, right, and the company that you're with is only doing this much, that's the service level that your customer gets.
Yeah.
If your company's doing this much, you get a higher service level, and you might not use everything, you might not want all of it, right? But you have the opportunity to do that with your customer versus that with your customer.
Yeah.
And if you start here, even if you start like this, you have a catapult. You're that much closer to getting where you want to go by. Well, who does was that Isaac Newton? I once could see further than others when I stood on the shoulders of giants. You know, that's really what it is. That's networking in general.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my growth was able to stand on the shoulders of BHHS giants and see the good side.
So you're growing pretty quick, right? So we need to find you some buyers agents, correct? We need to find you a couple that are like-minded.
Really good, people loving, service
You'll
oriented.
help training and all that. You've got leads and everything, and
Leads, training,
good.
coaching. I sell coaching, so I mean you get it for free, right? So or they would, and yeah, absolutely. And it's fun. It's a job that you love doing, and I'm always like this, whether it's 8 a.m. or 8 at night.
Absolutely.
I just always have the energy, always feeling good, even in tragic times. You know, just being able to, you know, push through and focus on what's important.
Yep.
Cool.
That's what we offer.
Yep. So
Any
get in touch
listeners
with
out
him.
there?
Yeah. If you're interested, get in touch with him. He'll sit down and talk to you. Get in touch with me. One of us will talk to you. We'll get it figured out. Doesn't matter what market they're in, right? You can help them out in whatever market they're in.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they really just need to identify the person on the roof.
Right.
If they tell me their why and there's some capacity there, and desire and willingness, I think willingness is huge. Then there's no limit to where they'll go.
Good. I love it.
Well, thanks, man.
All right. Are we missing anything?
That it?
That's it.
It's been 5 minutes. Oh my gosh.
I know.
There's more questions. Well, how about too maybe a little bit about what you do when you're not working. I think what people don't realize too is when I'm not in the office, which is I'm there a lot, I'm still not at home. I'm still not trying to find ways to just have fun and kill time. I'm finding ways to help people.
Yeah.
So between my weekend Joy FM prayer line stuff, being so involved with my church, the Knights of Columbus, Usher, our kids are altar servers. I teach 6th grade CCD. It's not just busy work and helping me, you know, figure out my life. It's a way to really organically and authentically get in the community, make myself better, serve more people, get in front of more people. And that's how these opportunities come to play. You know, the CBMC, the Young Professionals Network, NPI, not only am I the president of the Oldsmar Group, but one of the regional directors for our mastermind group. Of course, we do the mastermind for Berkshire Hathaway. We have a culture here at Berkshire Hathaway where we collaborate with some of the best agents of every office, and we meet once a month. I mean, is your broker doing that? I mean, that's great too.
Yeah.
I'm all part of that, and we grow. A couple different Bible studies I do throughout the week, and basically it's
So how
always
many
doing
hours
that.
are in your day? How many is there? 32?
24.
Yeah,
24.
wow, okay.
And you know,
Shit.
Arnold Schwarzenegger says if I need he said a joke on a YouTube video I watched once in my run that, you know, they say, you know, you sleep for 6 hours and you do this for 8 and you do this for 10. He goes, oh no, I need my 8 hours. He goes, wait, if you need 8 hours, just sleep faster. I thought that was funny. Sleep faster. So get 8 hours sleep in 6 hours. And believe it or not, I was up till like 12:30 last night finishing 2 listings, and then sent in an offer to another agent for a buyer this morning before I came in here. So I'm pretty okay, right? I mean,
Right.
So it's those habits, and certainly not 8 hours of sleep, not even 6. If I woke up at 4:30 and I went to bed at somewhere between 12:30 and 1. Again, it's what do you want, and don't let those inhibiting beliefs that I need this or I can't do that or this won't work or if I don't do this will happen. You don't know. Do what works. Develop some good, successful habits. Keep your why in front of you. Serve other people, and oh my gosh, you know it's
sky's the limit.
You can't fail. Yeah.
Sky's the limit. Good deal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Another
so
fabulous
much.
podcast Friday.
Yeah, you're the
so
man.
keep us posted on
Appreciate
the book,
it.
okay? So
Yeah.
I know that you're. So your plan is you're actually going to give away some of these books. Is that right?
Yeah, if you go to goodtalknation.com soon, not really today because the book's not going to be ready for a couple weeks, but yes, I'll be able to send everybody the ebook for free. And even distributing it as many as I can afford throughout our office because I want our agents, our home agents, to really benefit from it. And I think if they grasp half of it, it'll be great.
Yeah, nice.
Now, people can find you on Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, all
Bobby,
those things.
Bobby Paolini, right?
Yep.
And so that's your
Bowtie Bobby, I think, is my Instagram. This is a
Bowtie
new
Bobby.
thing. But,
It's not new.
well, yeah, I guess new in the last, from 39 years of my life, I would say, yeah. But yeah, for me, nothing's new. I've been doing the same thing every day for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Good
love
stuff.
it. Thank you, guys.
Thank
I
you,
love
brother.
it. Thank
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you
I
coming
hope
on.
we added value to everybody, and
We did.
looking forward to
And when the
again.
book comes out, we'll make sure that we get a quick blurb out there and get it out to everybody for
Yeah.
you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Look at you, always trying to help out.
Yeah, you know it.
What was your tagline?
Let me know what I can do.
Let me know what I can do.
I'll leave it with that. Let me know what I can do.
Let me know what I can do.
All right, bye, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.